You ever wonder what makes a scary story actually scary? It's not always about the jump scares or some crazy monster. Nope. Sometimes the most terrifying things come from a simple idea that just burrows into your brain and stays there. So today, we're not just going to tell you a scary story. We're going to pull out the scalpel, take it apart piece by terrifying piece, and see exactly what makes it tick. And it all kicks off right here. Not at midnight, not at 3 a.m., the witching hour, but at 2:17 a.m. Why? Because that specific kind of weird time is the first little click in the story's machinery. It creates this pattern, a routine that just feels a little off. It's a small crack in the normal rhythm of life, and that's exactly where the story begins to seep through. You see, that strange time, 2:17 a.m., it isn't a one-time thing. It becomes a routine. Our main character, Ali, starts waking up every single night right on the dot. At first, it's just an anomaly, right? A weird quirk. But that's what horror does best. It loves to find a routine and just twist it. This nightly wake-up call isn't just a plot point. It's the whole foundation. It sets up a predictable pattern that's about to be completely shattered. Okay, and this is the moment everything changes. This is where our guy goes from being a passive victim of a weird sleep cycle to an active player in the game. By choosing to stay still, to just listen, he's basically holding the door open and inviting whatever's out there to come on in. It's that classic horror movie moment where you're just screaming, "Don't do it! Just go back to sleep!" A short sentence, right? But man, it is just packed with dread. The silence is broken. Up until this point, the fear has been all in his head, something you could maybe explain away. But with these 5 words, the whole story just cracks wide open. The anomaly suddenly has a voice. The threat isn't imaginary anymore. Something else is in the room. Don't move. I'm almost there. Yeah, absolutely chilling. The story introduces its first real threat, not with something you see, but with something you hear. It's a command and a promise, all in one. And it's not yelling, it's a whisper. That's so much scarier because it feels personal, like it's meant just for you, even if it's coming from across the room. And that whisper is the perfect way to invade a safe space. I mean, think about it. Your bedroom is supposed to be your sanctuary, right? The one place in the world where you can lock the door and feel secure. By putting this unseen, whispering thing in the corner, the story just vaporizes that sense of security. The walls aren't protecting you anymore. They're trapping you in with a threat. So Ali finally opens his eyes, and the story gives us these 3 clues, each one worse than the last. First, a shadow in the corner. Okay, fine, that's normal. Second, it's not attached to anything. Uh-oh, that's not possible. And then third, it's unattached and it's moving. The story is just dismantling reality, step by step, creating a threat that breaks the basic rules of our world. And what we're seeing here is a perfect example of a concept called the uncanny. It's a simple idea, really. We all know what a shadow is. It's familiar. But when that familiar thing starts acting in a totally alien way, like moving on its own, it creates this deep, unsettling feeling. Our brain just can't compute it, and that confusion, that's where the dread comes from. So now we're entering the next phase. The shadow is on the move. The threat is officially escalating. It began as just a sound, a disembodied whisper, but now it has a form, or at least a visual one. It's not just hiding in the corner anymore, it's actively coming closer. The fear is no longer some abstract thing. You can literally watch it approach. And then we get this line. Honestly, this might be the single most terrifying line in the entire story. Why? Because it means this thing is smart. It's not some mindless monster. It's an intelligent entity that's watching him, and it's aware of his fear. It's taunting him, almost congratulating him for playing the game correctly. It's like a predator teaching its prey how to be hunted. And here it is. The final boundary is crossed. The threat isn't across the room. It's not just a sound or a sight. It is now touch. And that is the most intimate and terrifying sense of all in this moment. He feels its coldness. The mattress sinks. That's real, physical proof. This thing has weight. It's tangible, and it is now in his personal space. Game over. So when you actually lay it out like this, you can see just how brilliant the structure of this first encounter is. It's a methodical progression, a full-on sensory assault. It starts with sound, the sense that warns us about danger in the dark, then sight, confirming the threat is real, and finally touch, proving it's right here and there's nowhere to run. It's a masterclass in building tension. But the night isn't over. The entity has made contact, but before it leaves, it gives Ali one last parting gift. the terrible power of anticipation. This is such a classic suspense tool. The worst part isn't what's happening now, it's the absolute dread of knowing what's going to happen later.
Tomorrow, you'll see me. This is the masterstroke. The immediate horror stops, but it gets replaced by something way, way worse. An entire day of pure, agonizing dread. Sleep is no longer rest. It's an appointment with terror. He knows it's coming, he knows the exact time it's coming, and now he knows he's going to see what it really looks like.
And so the clock ticks down. 2:17 a.m. rolls around again, right on schedule. That familiar anomaly, the one that started as just a weird quirk, is now a blaring alarm bell signaling that his appointment is here. The routine isn't broken anymore. Now it's being used as a weapon against him. And this just lays out the horrifying escalation perfectly, doesn't it? On night 1, the threat was at a distance, a thing across the room. By night 2, that distance has completely collapsed. The promise made by that whispering shadow was kept. The bed, the last safe place, has been totally and completely breached. And that's the final line. That's where the story leaves us, just hanging on this awful gut punch of a realization. It's the climax of this sensory assault and the fulfillment of that terrible promise. It is the ultimate violation of safety, and it's stated so simply, so directly. It's just horrifying. So this brings us to the story's final and most brilliant move. It asks a question that it never, ever answers. What does Ollie see when he finally opens his eyes? We don't know. And that's why it works so well. Because no monster the author could ever write, no description they could give, would be half as scary as the one that your own imagination cooks up in that final moment. The story shows us the anatomy of fear, but it leaves it up to us to create the monster's face. And really, what could possibly be scarier than that?